Boozed and Bothered on occasion may contain content that readers and listeners find offensive or distasteful. The views and opinions expressed on this podcast or on the articles on the website are solely those of the individual authors, speakers, and or guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views of Boozed and Bothered as a whole or the views of any of Boozed and Bothered's affiliate or parent companies and organizations. Enjoy the show.
Man, we have to be respectable.
Yeah. Talking about clock is on. T-minus less than 7 days until the due date for my baby.
I know. Are you excited? I know you're not ready. No one's ever ready.
No one's ever. I hate that term. Oh well, you're never ready, and everybody always tells me like, get your sleep in now because you're not gonna get any sleep. Like I don't care. I don't care what you all. Everybody else has their experience. I would have my own experience. You don't need to tell me.
First of all, the baby will cry until you're awake, so you sleep as long as you want.
Right. I've slept through worse.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I live in Midtown. I'm sure I'll be able to sleep through crying.
In your house, though.
Oh, I'm more. No, I'm as ready as I can be.
Yeah.
I think I'm mentally ready. I'm definitely not physically ready. I'm not fit.
Yeah.
But
well,
no,
you got
I'm
dad
ready.
bod. It's
yeah,
fine.
I'm
You
working on it. I'm trying to get
You got dad bod.
slightly less flabby dad bod. But no, we're ready.
Right.
All the bags are packed. Car seats in the car.
You're good to go.
Yep. Hospital's picked out. Everybody's on alert.
Yeah. You're all gravy, baby.
Yeah. It's all up to the baby at this point.
You're good.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Likewise.
I know you are.
She's doing drugs, right? She's gonna do well, not now, but
No.
she's gonna do drugs at the hospital.
She's gonna go as natural. As
Natural.
possible.
Ooh, girl.
Your wife is so hardcore.
She is. Well, she's a mountain girl. She's from Weaverville.
Oh,
up in
yeah.
Trinity.
Oh.
We've talked about this. Yeah. She's from those mountainous, piney regions.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
The Great Green North.
It is the Great Green North. It's
Yeah.
called the state of Jefferson. First of all,
Thank
I
you.
love those signs. It's called the Emerald Triangle. Humboldt, Trinity.
Oh, yeah, that's
Humboldt,
true.
Trinity, and something else.
except that's not about the pine trees and
No,
the
it is
redwoods.
not.
That's about the weed.
No, it is not. And she hates it too.
What we always talk about weed on this show. This is Boozed and Bothered, but we've never been high. We've only talked about other people being
The
high.
day will come.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Oh, I don't.
Special edition.
Oh well,
April 20th.
I will be.
episode.
First of all, I will be a mess for that. People will be like, Johnny, what are your thoughts? I'll be like, I have so many.
My thoughts: pizza. First and foremost.
I look forward to that. That'll be fun, being high on the show.
Well, first,
I just, but
we gotta
I
get
feel
boozed.
like crossfade is an unacceptable thing. We'll need to have like root beer for that day.
Oh no, yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
useless. All right. So what's everybody drinking?
Well, I started everybody off because I needed it because my back hurts with a vodka martini. It is vodka. And what did we say this is?
Tito's. This is Tito's vodka.
Yeah.
Sean provided the vodka.
Mm-hmm.
I provided the dry vermouth. That was
I love. I got a mini bar and I love it.
It's a great mini bar too.
I'm a fan. I got all kinds of glassware. I got the wine glasses. I got the champagne flutes.
Wait, do you have martini glasses? Because I brought mine over.
No, I do not.
No.
I do not.
But he has tulip glasses.
I do. I have two tulips and a snifter. I've got pint glasses down there, copper mugs.
I have all of
eyeballs.
Yeah.
I don't think I have snifters. I have the rest of this in my house, and I have a
And I
lot
ha-
of drinking
yeah.
glasses.
I have old-fashioned glasses too, like what you're drinking out of right there.
Oh, I love them. Highballs and old-fashioned glasses are probably my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
I got a lecture about my copper cups. You could only imagine who.
Yeah, oh yeah, are they really that bad though?
I don't
What
know.
about them? What's
What
wrong
do they
with them?
do? Yeah, what's wrong with
I
them?
don't know, something about metal poisoning and
You would have to drink all day, every day, nothing but out of that cup, and then some.
yeah.
To get
But I think it's got
poisoning.
it's got coating, so it's fine. But apparently it's not
They
fine.
put coating
because-
in there. What
They
kind of mixture are you
I was
doing?
just about to say that.
Well, a
Man.
coating around the copper to like, so you're not drinking the copper itself. I don't know. You
That
know?
went right. That
It's-
went right over your head.
It sounded
buddy.
like you said it had codeine in it.
Oh, codeine.
Yeah.
which
Uh,
was which
Johnny's
would have been
drinking
a
martini.
very yeah.
You're drinking scissor. And I'm just having like a. It's like a.
I'm
vodka-
I'm sipping scissor.
yeah.
You know what? He was born in Los Angeles, so that's
This
not
is
far
true.
off.
Yeah.
This is true.
Scissor.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that since 2011. That's amazing.
California knows how to party.
Yeah.
First of all, after this, I am going to bed with like I hope that there's like a horse pill in my house somewhere, like a flex roll. I don't think I have one.
So, aside from babies, Johnny, how was your week?
It's been a week. You know, everybody needs to appreciate the people who are there for them at work. Because you know what? Listen, it's been a hard week, but it's been a good week because there are a lot of people who do really good things and are very supportive, and we should always appreciate those people.
Agreed.
Even when we're frustrated.
Sure. Sure. Sounds like
that is my proclamation of positivity. That's as far as
there
I
you
can
go.
get.
That's as close as you get.
I've had to practice that several times.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So that's not normally my MO.
I had the most eventful week out of anyone, I guess.
Yeah, you did. Tell us about it. Tell us about it, you little swanky poo.
I feel good. Well, okay, so yesterday was, oh man, I had a 7:00 meeting this morning that I missed because yesterday was packed. I mean, I spent 5 days in Salt Lake City, which was fun. It was cold.
Oh yeah, how's Keaton?
He's good. He's good.
I miss Keaton.
Got a new job. I got to see his new office, so that was a lot of fun.
I know. Congratulations.
Yeah, it was gorgeous.
Does
Beautiful.
he listen to us, or does he?
He's hasn't gotten through a full episode yet, I think. I don't know.
Well, he just started a new job.
Yeah, he's doing the thing, you know. So I got to use like a guest desk there. Had like
That's exciting.
two really nice like 1440p like 4K or like high resolution monitors.
Oh, at his office?
Yeah. And all that. And like an automatic like standing desk that you push the button and it like moves up and down. It was a lot of fun. Good views. Not a bad. I mean, it's hard to find a bad view in Salt Lake City, right? Because the mountains are on every freaking side of you.
Right.
Right. You know. So
I need to go back. I haven't been there in like, oh my god, it's probably been like 8 years.
Yeah. No, it's fun. I mean, the air quality is a little rough sometimes because you have the inversion, right? So it's cold in the valley. A warm weather system comes over the valley, pushes all the cold air in, holds all the smog in. My face.
And you're allergic to life.
Yeah, I am allergic to life. It's true.
All these things.
Yeah, my face just did not enjoy that at all. My throat's still recovering from it. I just have really sensitive allergies. It's bad, so I could never live in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, but people in Utah are really fun.
No, they're super nice. They're super nice. I mean, you know, a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're Mormon, and Mormon people are just nice in general. But then, like, you go to the bars, and then you find all the ex-Mormons who are, like, still really nice and just not trying to convert you.
Which is the way better version.
Right?
Well,
hot take.
Jesus.
Rob has feelings about this.
First of all, the current Mormons are still nice too, Sean.
No, I never said they're not nice. But you know, they like.
I know you were drinking with the exes.
They're trying to proselytize. You know,
Proselytize.
You know what? Proselytize.
Take another sip, boo boo.
I'm sipping. Hey, oh yeah. Speaking of which, Moscow Mule
Is what Sean's
Tito's
taking.
vodka. It's got a really cool. So I'm not using ginger beer.
What are you using?
So I picked it up at the farmer's market. It's this ginger beer syrup, and it's local to Sacramento. It's Burley Beverages. Funny enough, I know the designer who designed their logo. I know the designer who designed their logo. He used to be our neighbor.
Who?
Over in 19.
Oh, with the baby?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that baby was the cutest baby.
He's a
ever.
designer. He's a freelance designer, and this is his design, the logo.
Wait, what's his name? I know the name of the kid. David.
Yeah.
Their daughter's name was Lorelai, and she is the most adorable child that ever.
Adorable name.
It is an adorable name.
It is the most adorable, and she was so cute and so sweet.
Yeah, and then
His wife is really nice too.
yeah, they're nice people. Yeah, but I
Didn't mean to like call out their entire family in this.
Well,
but
you know, things
whatever.
happen.
Where do they live? What do they do for?
Well, I mean, obviously is he a graphic designer or just a logo designer?
He's a graphic designer.
Okay, yeah. So he did that, but he used to live a few doors down from us.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
They were really nice. They were there for years, but they were really nice people.
Yeah, they were super nice.
They just needed a bigger place because
Baby
came along and.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I know that trial.
Yeah.
We're gonna be going through that soon enough.
I know.
And then I flew in from Salt Lake City yesterday morning.
I know. Welcome home.
Yeah.
Yesterday was a whirlwind for you.
Yesterday was a long day. I flew in, got right back to work, had to pick up the dog, take him to get a vaccine because I'm going to start taking him to boarding him pretty soon on days that I get really busy and stuff, so he can knock out that energy.
Oh yeah.
Because clearly right now he is pumped. And then
doggy daycare.
yeah.
Boarding school
Yeah.
for rich pups.
Wait, is he going to be doing? Do they do training there?
I don't know.
Maybe it's like extra.
We'll find out.
We'll
Well,
watch your brat for
Yeah.
$100.
Yeah.
$200.
They're just
We'll
watching
teach
my
him-
brat.
Yeah, we'll teach him not to chew things.
Yeah, things like
He's
that.
a good boy though. He doesn't really chew anything except for what? Socks?
Socks. Socks are his favorite. So
But he's otherwise a pretty good boy, and you housebroke him really quickly. So
yeah, he's real fast.
he's a jumper though. He loves being on top of people and
I know.
hugging them.
Yeah.
It is the cutest thing.
Same.
He's been my therapy dog like all night. I was like, I had a rough day. Come here.
Yeah.
Johnny, do you need a thunder blanket?
You know what? Maybe.
That'd be really good. It feels like being hugged.
Oh, I
It's
don't know
supposed
if
to be
I
very-
like that.
It's supposed to be very calming.
No, that's
Yeah.
not coming to me.
Like you could get out if you needed to.
No,
Okay.
I would put it to the side and just be like, thanks for playing.
Nope.
I don't need that.
Oh yeah, and then last night I went to
California Hall of Fame.
California Hall of Fame induction. Thank you. Brain fart.
It's okay.
Super hardcore.
That's why we're here.
Yeah. I was sitting front and center pretty much. I mean second row. But I was front and center.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it was red carpet for sure.
Seat filler, right?
What?
You were a seat filler.
I mean, I was an inductee guest. Thank you.
First of all, his friend knew a lady, like her grandmother.
Yeah, my friend's grandmother is Lucille Ball.
Ooh.
And so she was
You're
accepting.
so fancy now, Sean.
I know, right? I mean
I don't know how fancy because you were there with Jerry Brown, but
he looked like the most lost person on that stage, I'll tell you what. But yeah, I was there. My friend's grandmother
he's
is
probably unsure as to what term he's serving in right now.
Yeah.
Fourth one. Jesus.
My friend's grandmother is Lucille Ball, and so she invited me. I went, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, so as an inductee guest, I got to hang out in the green room and all that stuff, and that was an experience. I'll tell you what, when you walk up into the green room and you turn the corner, and 5 feet from you in the flesh is Steven Spielberg.
That is pretty amazing.
Is he shorter?
Yeah, he's not that tall.
But he's a giant that walks among us.
Yeah. Oh God, he's one of the greatest storytellers in the history of our time.
Is he okay? I
Of
know
the
he's.
modern
I
age,
know
for
he's
sure.
not.
Yeah, definitely.
How involved is he in the Jurassic Park series right now?
I think he's producing it.
That's what I thought too. Because he's not doing any writing, right? Like he's just making sure it gets made. What do producers do on movies?
To be honest, it's like they make stuff happen. They're the ones like
They're the
moving and
connection.
shaking.
They're
Yeah.
the switchboard.
Correct.
Got it.
Oftentimes they're the money men. Like
Yeah, that's
executive producers and stuff
well,
like that.
definitely true.
They're the money people, and they're the people making the call, saying, "Hey, we need 16 guys over at this dock, and we need to get this boat over here so that we can shoot it." They're the doers.
That's fair. I mean, listen. As long as he's involved, I have confidence because he wasn't involved in Jurassic Park 2 or 3, right? He wasn't in that.
I don't know.
They were
Don't
really,
know.
they were not that good.
Yeah.
I still watch them though. In Jurassic Park 3 in the birdcage scene with the pterodactyls. The pterodactyls.
That like atrium or the birdcage. Yeah.
Yeah. The atrium, I think is what they
Yeah, the
called it.
atrium.
The aviary.
Yes, maybe that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I don't know. But anyways, that was a while ago.
yeah. But that was a
And
lot. Yeah.
Jurassic World is coming out in 2019
The
Yeah.
next one.
or
Yeah.
2018.
Something like that. I don't know.
Well, it's going to have to be one of the two, but I'm excited. I'm ready for it.
And is
Yeah.
it going to have Chris Pratt?
I think so. I think everyone's returning.
Everybody coming back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Christopher Pratt. I mean, he's kind of involved in like series now.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
Star Lord.
Oh, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. So now he's in the MCU, the Marvel comic universe. Or
Yeah.
cinematic.
And it looks like apparently, according to the new Avengers trailer, that Guardians will be in Infinity Wars.
That'll be really interesting to see.
Yeah.
Okay, real unpopular opinion. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was not funny.
I feel like they tried a little too hard. Like the newest Thor,
They certainly did.
while
I
it was
didn't laugh.
enjoyable,
I didn't laugh. I felt like Matt was really mad at me because he was like, "That was really funny," and I was like, "Was it though?"
Yeah, it was a
And
little
we
like
laughed, and I was like-
heavy-handed.
I was like, everything
Yeah.
looked really cool. You know,
Right.
the story was fine, and everything looked really great, but I don't remember laughing at all during that movie. I think I might have smirked,
Yeah.
and that was it.
I thought the new Thor, was funny,
I have not seen
but I
Ragnarok.
felt like it's almost like they were trying to emulate the comedy stylings of Guardians of the Galaxy, saying, okay, well, this newer, bright lighted, more funny
Yeah.
Did we-
version of like the MCU is working for us, so let's go with that.
With Thor, whatever happened to his girlfriend?
Natalie Portman,
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever happened to Queen Amidala?
I want to say they split because he was gone so long.
Yeah.
Is that what happened in the official like?
I don't
I'm
know.
honestly not sure.
I'm not sure.
Well,
They kind of just like keep writing it off, like, oh, she's got a conference, or like,
Yeah.
oh, isn't it good that she's out of the city, so she's not
did
here.
they really? I didn't pay attention
I
to
don't
the
know.
second
It's
one. I saw
always
the 2nd
they're
one.
like throwaway lines.
Yeah.
It's just enough to keep the like
The story kind of
yeah.
moving. Yeah. Oh, I saw Justice League.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I'm
Was
gonna be
it
honest.
good?
Yeah, some people it got maybe a
It got trashed.
44% on Rotten
Yeah.
Tomatoes, which is better than the Batman Superman movies, which were in the 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those were really wrong. That was actually like a really fun movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would give Justice League. I love Jason Momoa.
Oh, who doesn't?
Yeah, he's great.
He's
He's great.
awesome.
Yeah.
It was
You saw it then, Johnny?
No, I didn't see it. I specifically didn't see it because I didn't want to have my. The one thing I absolutely hate is when people ruin my superhero.
It's like a never meet your
Like
heroes.
I
kind of
hate
thing.
that. I hated all of the Spider-Man movies. They're the
Really?
worst. They ruined Spider-Man for
You
me.
like none of them?
None of them. One, I don't like Tobey Maguire.
Oh, okay.
I don't. I saw him when I was in high school. My mom took me because that's what we did. We love going to movies together. And I was offended. One, by the Nickelback that was involved in. Yeah. And then two, I don't like Seabiscuit. It's the
Oh.
worst. And I saw him and I was like, oh, God,
Yeah,
this
I mean,
fool.
Secretariat all
Right.
the way.
Yes,
Way
exactly. That's
better.
so true. Such a better story and a better movie all over the place. And then with the remake, Andrew Garfield, ugh, Garfunkel, I was just like, get out of here. Like, I don't like this. This isn't that great either. And then we had Spider-Man Homecoming, which I did see. And I was like, at this point, you've tried so hard over the course of my life that
Right.
this
Three
is just
separate
not-
times in our own in one generation.
And it just doesn't really mesh up.
Well, but
I
the
haven't-
thing is,
I
the
haven't
thing
seen
is,
it. I
the
haven't
thing
seen it.
is, Marvel Studios has the name back now because you got to remember, like Sony was the one doing those other Spider-Mans,
Right.
right? So because and that's where kind of we had a lot of disconnects, right? Like with Tobey Maguire, he didn't make the webs like out of a device. He was shooting them right out of
I
straight
don't
out of
mind
his
those,
wrist.
like nuanced like
Yeah.
things, like the small things and the technicalities that a lot
Sure.
of really like heavy hardcore fans get into. I really don't mind all of that stuff. I think changing that stuff is actually really interesting.
Yeah, sure.
But I just don't like Tobey Maguire. I can't believe him in any movies.
Okay.
He's like the person that cries ugly all the time, and I don't like it. And I
He
feel
does
like
have
does
a really
cry
ugly
ugly.
cry.
yeah. Uncle Ben, first of all, your rice peel off is done. One. And two, like he's just so like he's like the bad version of Elijah Wood. And he has that mouth that just looks like he licks his lips all the time with too much chapstick.
Oh, he does.
It's
Oh,
gross.
God,
It's
can't
gross.
unsee.
I can't unsee
You know
it.
who has a great cry, a really sad cry? Super random. Giovanni Ribisi.
I don't know.
He has in Boiler Room, super old movie about like
Oh.
the stock market. He has a scene with like his father who's not proud of him, and he has this whole like,
not
"Why
see
can't you
this.
just be proud of me?" cry with his dad. Oh, it's so great.
Huh?
I'm trying to think who would even make a good Spider-Man. I'm just so tired of seeing Spider-Man ruined.
Practically no one at this point.
I wish they would just stop. And I feel like they tried it with Homecoming because they were like, oh, it's been 5 minutes. Maybe people forgot. I didn't forget. And
But
was
I
still
mean, he's
irritated.
part of the MCU. He's a very integral part of the MCU too.
Well,
so they
good for
they
them.
kind of have to keep them in there.
That's their problem. And I don't necessarily mind Andrew Garfield, except that he is like, what, 33?
but he's not the Spider-Man now.
Oh, yeah. Who's
Now
the
it's
new kid?
Tom Holland.
Yeah, Tom Holland.
See, I
really
just...
young guy. You know who I am a fan
He's a
of? though?
teenager.
The
He's a high
new-
school
The new Aunt
kid.
May. Marissa
People were,
Tomei.
this is so... But she's the same age as she was in the comics. And people are so offended by this. And this is what I don't like. Just stop for a minute with the superhero stuff. You know, I thought Christian Bale was like the perfect Batman. I thought he was great as
I'm
Batman.
so
Very believable.
Ben Affleck, I was like, you know what? You didn't do a bad job. This is fine. And then all the review, like Superman versus Batman or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, ugh.
Yeah.
I will say, so for Justice League, I liked his Batman a little bit more in that instead of, they didn't do an origin story, they didn't do like, it's not just Batman doing Batman
Yes,
things.
I'm definitely done with the origins.
He's very late in his career.
Yeah.
Like he should have stopped by
because
now.
he's old.
Yeah.
He's old
He
as
is
hell.
old.
This isn't like Batman Beyond territory where he's an old
Which I thought was a
man.
great show by the
Right.
way.
Oh, great.
Right.
But
I mean,
it's at least better in that they're not trying to make him look like, oh, he's the badass, he's the star. He's just trying to keep up with these like metahuman extra
powers.
You know, with these powered up
yeah,
individuals.
he did. Yeah.
Which is fair, but I think that at the same time, people watching this are also the same people that watch the Justice League
Show.
cartoons, the
Yeah.
show, the animated show. Well, they're not cartoons; they're animated shows,
Whatever.
which is what we call them in today's age. But they were the ones that came out in the late 2000s.
Yeah.
The late aughts. Is that what we're officially calling?
Fucking no.
People keep trying to make aughts happen. I'd be for it, but
I'm for it. I'm all about the odds.
I think it makes sense at this point because we are about to be in the 20s.
Yeah.
Correct.
Those were actually really good, and I don't know why DC keeps pushing Justice League. I thought those were one, they were great stories, and two, the movies were a lot of fun. And I don't think that they needed to go beyond that. I thought that
the animated movies.
yeah, I mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
can see why they're delving into Wonder Woman because she's essentially an unexplored character when it comes to the big screen.
Yeah.
And I thought that the Wonder Woman movie was fantastic.
Oh, it was.
It was so good. And
Gal does such an amazing
Yeah.
job. An amazing job.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She very much carries in Batman versus Superman.
Yeah.
She carries them, and the same thing in Justice League. She,
and there was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
enough funny.
Yeah.
There was just enough funny for it to be like actually hilarious. And it, like she wasn't awkward. The new Captain Kirk was awkward. Chris Pine,
Chris Pine. Oh.
Yeah.
who I also like a lot. I think he's a great Kirk, and I love Star Trek.
Oh, likewise.
I don't mean to like take this
love-
off into another
yeah.
tangent.
If you want to talk about reboots, though, what a great way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
The
loved
Star
it.
Trek universe.
But I mean, when it comes to the DC universe, I thought they could have just stuck with the animated series.
Oh yeah. Or just stick on this, like stay on the CW. Arrow, Flash, Supergirl.
Yeah.
Stick with that. Easier.
Yeah. Well, now that we've gotten ahead of ourselves here,
Yeah, we definitely jumped around.
welcome everyone to this
One-
week's episode of Boozed and Bothered. I am your producer, Sean.
No one's professionals here, Sean. I'm Jonathan, and I'm hosting-ish. I'm drinking. Okay, it's fine.
Yeah, and returning from last week is our friend of the show, but probably more than friends at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
Friends with benefits of the show.
Wait, is that copyrighted? Do we need to change that to pal of the program?
Ooh,
I like it.
Whatever. I mean, he's our friends with FWB.
Yeah.
Friends with benefits
Absolutely.
of the show.
Rob.
Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Robert.
Happy to be here again, man.
Yeah. We're glad to have you. Rob is yet to write an article, but you know, one of these days he will.
Yeah, I've been a little busy preparing my life for my child.
A baby.
Spoke on
No,
earlier.
that's. I'm not mad about it. That's
Yeah.
totally understandable.
It's enough I can do just to research any one topic we're going to speak on.
Which you did, and you did a good job this week. With
Yeah,
those
we had to
articles.
divide and conquer this week.
Yeah, I shirked a lot of work to look this stuff up.
Was it work though?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
it was.
Okay. Well, so we've got a couple headlines this week. It's been a busy week in the news, guys.
Oh yeah.
There has been quite a bit going on.
Listen,
and
it is moving at light speed. I don't.
It is, you know,
You're
and
not keeping up very.
I was freaking out a little. You know, I'm sitting there in Salt Lake City, and multiple things are all happening.
Oh yeah, you were
and-
there during this.
Yeah, I was. Oh my God, yes, I was there on Monday. And multiple things are happening, right? All at the same time, and I'm like, holy hell! And I messaged you guys this in the chat, and I was just like, the news moves fast. I mean, we already knew that, but you know, emphasis this week, right?
It seemed like
Right.
it. There were a lot of big stories, or a lot of stories that had a lot of meat on them.
Oh, and we have, I mean, this week, so we've got 3 topics this week. And these are all pretty meaty.
Yeah.
So just to kind of run through these headlines real quick, today we are going to be talking about the shrinking, depending on what side you're on of the aisle, reduction or absolute mutilation of Bears Ears and Grand Staircase-Escalante out in Utah.
People cry so much. I'm so tired of this crap.
Then we're also going to be talking about the release of Kate Steinle's murderer.
Is it acquittal or is it non-conviction? What's the more?
He was acquitted.
Yeah, the acquittal of Kate Steinle's murderer.
Yeah.
And to top it off, a very big cherry on a chunky Sunday this week, we're going to be talking about the GOP tax reform bill.
This thing is a mess.
As the Democrats have so lovingly coined it, the GOP tax scam. That's a hashtag on Twitter, and it's trending.
Listen, Nancy Pelosi is a lot of things, crazy being one of them.
Sure.
And wrong also being one of them. But this is more of a mess, and it goes back to the question of whether the Republicans can actually govern a government of this size. And I think the answer is no.
No, the answer is absolutely not. But we're going to come back to that.
Yeah.
Because so I was in Salt Lake City, and El Presidente, Uncle Trump, the Grand Commander,
Donald the Strong.
I
don't know which my favorite is, Donald the Strong or Grand Commander.
Hamburger Man.
For this one, because this was a little, I wouldn't say necessarily off the wall, but it did spark some. This is definitely some like Thanksgiving dinner outrage level stuff. So we're gonna call him Uncle Trump this round.
Okay. Your daddy.
Yeah. So he rolled on into Salt Lake City with his buddies Orrin Hatch and Zinke and Lee. And
I really like Mike Lee.
Yeah, and Mike
Lee.
Lee.
One of my favorites.
And they reduced.
And Mia Love too.
Yeah, and they reduced 2 national monuments out in Utah. They reduced Grand Staircase-Escalante and Bears Ears.
I will have you note that he said Grand Staircase-Escalante like so precisely accurate. Like he made such a point of saying it.
Yeah.
As
Grand Staircase-Escalante.
Yes. No, you have to do the it's like
with the
deal
okay
sign.
hands. The fingers.
He did.
They start out as OKs real close, then he closes his hand and moves
them
outward.
And you could see, I was watching the live feed, and you could see in his eyes there was like a twinkle when he like nailed the line. He was like, "Did it?
Got it.
Yeah, crushed it."
Yeah.
I was just like, I was like the only one laughing watching this, surrounded by like a whole bunch of people, and they all looked at me, and I was like, "You don't know what you missed." It was great. You'll read about it in the Daily Beast tomorrow.
You will. Oh, so this is quite. This is one of the more controversial things this week.
I mean, what do you want said about this? One, the land that he reduced is still public land. Okay, and he didn't delete the monument. The monument is not gone. It was not wiped off the face of the books. Like it's still there. It's just a smaller monument. And the thing is that this is based off the Antiquities Act.
Yeah. Which is essentially,
it's for ruins.
Yeah.
Cultural centers.
It's for ruins and cultural centers, and a lot of it was based around Native American land. Yeah. But something you have to understand about Escalante, but especially about Bears Ears, it's slightly under 1.5 million acres right now, and they're reducing it by 85%.
Okay, does that still cover the Grand Staircase?
It's 2 different monuments. This is just Bears Ears.
Well, right.
But
it's still covering
the Bears Ears themselves, the 2 mesas,
the plateau, the mesas.
That's all that's covered.
It's
right?
still covered, but it's not like they're saying. It's not like Trump's saying we're gonna put a pipeline there. We are gonna do this. It's the feds giving up the right to stop people from using this land.
Well,
but it's still public land.
Correct. It's going back to
still
the state.
public land. People are so crazy all the time. They swear that this is going for private development and that condominiums and Starbucks is going to be popping up along with Pete's Coffees and Chipotle's.
Well, they're talking. I mean, yeah, okay.
It's so people are so reactionary.
They're talking about strip mining and oil and.
It just. So what? First of all, who cares? Okay, if it's there, it's there.
Well, a lot of people. Okay.
I don't care about what a lot of people want. A lot of people are ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing, right? The thing is that it's and really, frankly, number one, these need to be national parks.
Okay.
Okay, but
hold on before you go on, because that like really that's my biggest problem here is that President Obama declared all of this monument,
right?
All of this a monument. Because what, he couldn't get Congress to agree that it was a national park,
right? And it should. And I personally think it should be a national park. But the thing is that what they've reduced off of these are not unique, right? So the two mesas for Bears Ears are unique, right? And that's fine, that's great. But like a lot of the canyons and things that everyone's mad about, those can be found all throughout Utah. You know, like, and so everyone's kind of freaking out about those aren't protected. Those are all throughout. Utah is a beautiful land,
and people forget it's a very big state.
It's huge, it's gorgeous, and it's big. But those canyons are very just. They're everywhere.
But why do people think that this is going to be like overdeveloped and it's going to be stripped of all of its resources, and people are going to go in and they're going to just thrash? I don't understand why people think that. I don't understand. First of all, Utah is like, what's the percentage on federally owned land in Utah?
A lot.
I want to say just a blanket. It's something like 2/3.
It's
most of the state.
It's obnoxious, and you're talking about a state that's been constantly like. It's a little crazy to me because Utah has had a very long, tense relationship with the federal government since
Utah
its inception.
is 57.4% owned by the federal government.
Yeah.
Why are people? Oh, God, I get so mad about stuff like this. People swear up and down that we are going to strip this country apart, and we're going to destroy every square corner of every national treasure that exists from nature.
And it's not even like, it's funny because it's not even like a slippery slope argument anymore, right? Like, people are just going straight to like the worst case scenario. and they're all assuming that this is going to be overdeveloped, it's going to be mined, it's going to be just destroyed. I mean, and people are going, Patagonia, the day this happened.
Oh, these guys.
Patagonia posted on their website that the president stole your land. He gave it back to the state.
Which they were, first of all, the entire elected government of Utah was asking for this and had been asking for this. In fact, they all opposed President Obama's land grab here.
Right. Well, the majority of Utah is owned by the federal government and untouchable.
57.4%.
That's obnoxious.
I think it's higher than that. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've got your numbers.
That's obnoxious.
I mean, you're looking online right now. Go ahead and look up search for a federally owned land map of the United States. It looks like a Verizon map.
Oh yeah.
It's disgusting when
more
you get
bars
west.
and more places.
Look at this. First of all, the federal government owns in the single digits for the vast majority of states east of the Louisiana Purchase and throughout it. Everything that was taken from Mexico.
The percentage is 84 on the map I'm seeing, not 54.
Shut up.
You're looking at the wrong map.
What am I looking at? Arizona?
You're looking at Nevada, buddy. And yes, the federal government owns 84.5% of Nevada.
Okay.
I mean,
also ridiculous.
Well, hopefully they reduce some of that.
If that's not imperialism, I don't know what it is. That's like ridiculous. What does the federal government need in order to operate these lands any better than the state? And when Obama did declare these national monuments, which is crazy.
Yes.
First and foremost, when he declared them national monuments, it was in the opposition for the vast majority, and I'm not even talking like a 51%,
Right.
the vast majority of elected representatives for the people of Utah were adamantly opposed to his
Yeah.
decision. And all of it, the governor, the entire representative delegation, I mean, both senators, the lieutenant governor, the attorney general for Utah, all of these people came out to support President Trump when he
Yeah.
when he downsized these monuments.
So let me posit something. Is this the media finding something to be angry at, specifically at Trump about, to point at him and say,
I don't even think it's just the
look
media.
at what he's doing?
I don't think it's just the media. I think it's just his entire opposition.
Right.
I think it's everyone who just doesn't like
They're
him.
looking for things to
They're just
to
looking.
nitpick.
They're just. I mean. You look at everyone, right? I mean, if you read the headlines on Monday, like that was your textbook definition of sensationalism, right? That was your textbook definition of sensationalism, right?
Oh yeah.
And you had the president just stole your land from Patagonia, or you had, I think it was,
Which is insane because it's still public land.
Right.
and he gave it back to the state of Utah. So
Yeah,
how is he
if
stealing the
anything,
land?
he's giving it's closer to
Yeah.
home now.
Yeah, if anything,
You don't have some fat cats in Washington telling you what you can and can't
Exactly.
do
If
with
any-
your state land.
if anything, the previous administration stole the land.
Right.
Right. So, and then on
The
top
argument can be made for that on either side.
If any, the argument can be made, and so it.
It just begs the question of state. Okay, if you and anybody's more than welcome to go and Google a map of the United States and search for federally owned land per state, and it's such an insane map because when you look at it, you're looking at states with some of the most beautiful natural wonders. I mean, you got Maine.
Right.
The federal government owns 1.1% of Maine's territory. At what point is it unacceptable that the federal government operates in California? Here in California, they own 45.3% of the state's land mass.
Right.
That's insane. I'm all for state parks. I'm all for national parks if they're warranted. But I still don't understand when a state says we want to manage our parks, we want to manage our territory. How is it even legitimate for the federal government to intervene and declare something a monument or a national park against the state's wishes? Not just the state government, the people of the state. And Sean, you can back this up. The only people in Utah that were pissed about this were people from outside Utah who were there for the universities.
Yeah, or just transplants in general.
No Utah native cared about this.
A lot of Utah natives thought it was
on the
right.
negative.
Right. A lot of Utah natives were, at least from what I was hearing while I was there, were like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, because a lot of the land that exists in the previous to reduction Bears Ears and Grand Staircase was just there was nothing unique about it. Or
Well, who operates the federal land now that the Antiquities Act doesn't apply to all of it anymore? Is it, you said Bureau of Land Management?
Yeah,
BLM?
and
The original BLM, not the one, not the new one.
and the Forest Service.
First of all,
Right.
y'all aren't original. Okay, I'm going to be controversial here for a second. And this is going to be hot take and it's going to be divergent and whatever, but do we really think the Black Lives Matter and BLM was the right acronym to go with when Bureau of Land Management has existed for generations? That's not a good look. Okay, for anybody in the Midwest and the flyover states, quote unquote, that's not a good look for a sign because they think that you're talking about cattle range. Nobody thinks these things through. This is the problem with university settings and these protest situations. People are like, oh, I don't know, this sounds really great. And then they don't do research on it.
right.
And when you only have 140 characters to yell out your message.
You have 280 now.
Yeah,
hell
There's no
yeah.
excuses.
We've
First
changed.
of all, Trump has never been happier.
I'll tell you what.
But we can go back to that. Sorry, that has pissed me off for days.
No, it's fine.
I hate BLM versus BLM. And I'm just like, the Bureau of Land Management. Why does it want equal rights?
Right.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
Why are a bunch of Bureau of Land Management workers in the middle of the freeway?
Why are these people blocking traffic? It's not like they're not getting paid for cattle grazing. It's by the head, okay? We got it.
Why did they interrupt Bernie Sanders?
I know. Why don't these people like Bernie? And then I was like, oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, no.
Justice.
kind of going back to the we have meandered. Going back to the subject here, a lot of Utahns were native Utahns. Were generally okay with this. He didn't get rid of Bears Ears itself.
It's still there.
The mesas or plateaus.
The actual Bears Ears.
The actual Bears
monument.
Ears are still covered. They're
Right.
still and the amount of land in both of these monuments is still very large.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be parks. It's just I mean, it's a longer process, right? Because
Well,
to declare a national park, it has to go through Congress.
Which, listen, people accuse every president being the imperial president, going back to Nixon, but this is very imperialistic when it comes to Obama's actions, right? Like, if you're gonna go ahead and slice off what'd you say the bulk was? 1.8 million acres.
1.3.
1.3.
So it'd go down to a little bit around 200,000 acres.
Which is a considerable amount of land. But first of all, this is covered under the Antiquities Act. The Antiquities Act was there for specific ruins. It very small, very specific things. These aren't national parks. These are meant to be set aside and preserved and covered by the federal government and held aside and just only there for research.
Yeah.
This isn't Bears Ears. Is Bears Ears a monument? Does anybody know if
It's a
Bears?
national monument.
What is the cultural? What are there ruins there?
I believe it's just the two mesas.
Then why isn't it a park? How hard would it have been to have President Obama request Congress to declare it a national park? I mean, Utah didn't want that. They didn't want the federal government involved in any of this.
No.
But they already were. But, I mean, how hard would it have been for President Obama to go to Congress and ask a Republican Senate and House, hey, we want to declare this a national park. What do you think? Instead, he went off and he was like, all of this 1.3 million acres is a monument. It's not true.
Which is ridiculous because
It's just not true.
that's not a small piece of land at all.
Okay, so the reason that it got picked up as a monument was there are apparently over 100,000 archaeological sites within the monument that are being protected. The Native
Still?
Americans, that's what initially before it's getting pared down.
Okay, so that's sensible.
There is the Bears Ears Intertribal Coalition described a 1.9 million acres of southeastern Utah as ancestral land. So they're just saying this is like all of this land.
Okay, well, I mean, you can ask
our
anybody
homeland.
and they'll say it's ancestral land because
Right.
guess what?
Right.
Okay, there was a point in time where I'm pretty sure that somebody in my family lived in Branson, Missouri. Okay. I don't... I want to be sensitive to these situations, and then everything's an argument. Everything's always an argument. Is it... What define... This is so... It's just one of those things. What do you want done with this? What do you want done with all this land? Do you want it set aside so that you can, talk about how it was in your tribe's past at some point?
Or can you move forward?
Sure.
Because it's not like they're saying you can't have a past or that you can't
Right.
have space. But do you need nearly 1.5 million acres?
I don't even want to sound like super insensitive about this, but I'm going to have to because there's really no other way to cut this. What is special about this? Other than the fact that it's a beautiful geographical location and that there's historical points in it, which are great for studying, I understand that. What is so special about this? Anybody have an answer?
I would say it seems to be that the tribes find it culturally relevant to them to their tribes past.
In what way?
That's where their ancestors. That's where they hunted. That's where a lot of they'll do
Jesus
archaeological digs and
Christ.
say, "Oh, we found."
My father took
we
me
found this
hunting in the
stuff."
Sierra Nevadas one time. It's not going to be set aside for a monument for my family, okay?
So on the other side of it, though,
Christ.
maybe this is part of almost like a quasi reparations, right? We took a lot of land from the Native Americans when we moved out west.
Well, this is going very sideways, and I don't want to go down that path because I have my own feelings, but
Well, we all have our own feelings.
Yeah.
I don't see anything about this as being wrong. Okay, it's still public land. The monument's smaller. So sorry about all these people who never went to Bears Ears and are suddenly mad about it. But people need to you know what? People need to kick rocks. Okay, don't stop being mad about everything.
But not those rocks.
Right. Oh yeah, don't kick those. No,
now you can.
Yeah,
you just have to pay a ticket.
Well, and and kind of, I guess from a fiscal standpoint, one could look at this and say, hey, the national parks budget was reduced.
Absolutely.
But is this a national park or how?
It's still, but it
still has to be managed by the Bureau of Land Management.
It falls under that budget.
We still have to pay people.
It falls under that budget.
It's 2 rocks. Where is it going? It's fine. Okay, just leave it alone. Jesus Christ! Everybody wants to preserve every pebble along the sidewalk. Just no. Okay, let the wind take it. No one cares.
Yeah.
All right. So let's transition.
we're gonna move this train along here.
I'm gonna do a super hot transition here.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bureau of Land Management.
Oh.
4 days prior to an unfortunate death, the car of a Bureau of Land Management agent was broken into. And his
are we talking about Kate Steinle?
We are talking about Kate
Steinle.
So that's how the gun was.
I thought I was a bad guy, but I didn't shoot a child.
Wait.
32-year-old woman.
Wait, hold on here.
Mm-hmm.
This gun was taken from an agent of the Bureau of Land Management?
Correct.
Yeah, he lost it.
He lost it. It was in his car.
Was this government issued?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this whole thing
This was a government issued. It was like his secondary sidearm.
I want to be upset, but then I remember that
worry,
the EPA and NASA also have SWAT teams.
Sean, don't worry.
Well, yeah, it's called the Environmental Protection Agency. You have to have guns if you're going to protect us from the environment. I mean, think about it. Bears are part of the environment, so you need something to protect yourself.
I believe Betsy DeVos gave the grizzly bear requirement for a shotgun on campus during a Senate testimony. Listen, the fact is that you shouldn't trust the government to manage your guns if they can't even manage their own. And
Thank you.
This was it wasn't a Colt, was it?
It was a Sig Sauer.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And it was taken from, it was only 9mm round. Is that what the
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. This was taken by his car or it went missing. Sorry, that was the official.
BLM agents had 9s?
Correct. Yeah, it was under his seat, holstered.
First of all, this was in San Francisco.
Underneath one of his seats, his
Keeping the
car was broken.
population
His
in
car was
check.
broken into, and the gun was stolen. Reported missing.
Who leaves a gun on their seat car? This isn't Alabama. Why are
underneath the seat?
Oh, they put them in gun racks in the back.
Yeah. Somebody went in there and rifled around.
Yeah,
it's not like they just saw a gun on the dash and went, "Hey, gun, give me that."
Look what I found, Pa.
So,
wow.
First of all, I just think that it's ridiculous that they would. How could it? Was there even a case?
It was holstered.
Was it? Wow.
Yes.
Like a side holster that goes on your belt?
The reports just say it was holstered, so it was in some sort of it wasn't just free range, just a gun sitting there.
Jesus Christ!
Maybe it was one of those concealed carry holsters.
This was step.
Those
one.
are really cool. They're like stepping up.
Oh yeah.
I always get ads on Facebook all the time for them. I was like, what have I liked for this? But yeah, they're like, if you want to walk around concealed carry, here's this like massive like apparatus that goes down your leg. And I was like, I don't even know what to do with this, but this is an amazing.
Yeah, I've seen that thing.
Oh, then I'm blaming you. What have you liked recently?
I haven't liked any of that. Okay, so as someone who is like pro firearms, I stay away from the pro firearms crowd. Like I
well, yeah, because Facebook
like,
tracks
they're
you.
kind of crazy most of the time, right? Like I'm not out there like lobbying.
Wait. Are you talking about the people who are like, my guns for life? Or are you talking like the kind of people who walk into Chipotle with their rifles slung over their back, acting big and bad?
No,
but,
not
like
those.
They just got done LARPing.
No, just the ones who like to say controversial shit.
Oh, okay.
These are the keyboard warriors you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
who were super mad when Apple took away the gun emoji.
Yeah.
Replaced it with
like
a squirt gun.
Squirt gun.
This is oppression.
So
let's wrap back around. Then.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap it back around.
Speaking of the 6 hours, so it gets stolen. That's just step one in a very unfortunate circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
It gets stolen out of the car, taken from the car. However, somehow in the next few days, it ends up underneath a bench, where an individual who happens to be a 5-time deported illegal immigrant, shouldn't be in the city of San Francisco, but is.
First of all, it's very easy to transport illegals into San Francisco because they ask for them.
It's a sanctuary city.
Sanctuary city. We'll get there. He was in San Francisco because he was picked up, I believe, in Texas, and then he was transported to San Francisco on a 20-year-old warrant for possession of marijuana.
Woo, girl.
Oh, that's boring.
Yeah. 20-year-old.
The ICE was coming to pick them up. San Francisco
You
said,
could just
we're
say
not going to
ICE.
hold him. ICE was... ICE was coming to pick him up.
Stop, Rob. Don't make a joke out of these.
It's
people's-
lemonade. It's delicious. ICE was coming to pick him up, and they were coming to take him out of the country again. In this time, the way it played out, as far as his testimony was, he was down by Pier 14. He was rifling through the trash, as homeless people do.
Is that the pier with the is that the transportation pier where they meet with all the ferries that go to like Vallejo and?
I don't think so. That's Pier 41.
Oh,
Yeah,
dyslexia.
farther down.
Sure.
So he's over there. He's rifling through the trash. According to his testimony, he found some sleeping pills in the trash. Took those sleeping pills.
Well, it is San Francisco. So
That's-
far, this is
and
very
that's-
believable.
Because that's what you do. When you find sleeping pills in the trash, you take them, obviously, like a normal person would.
Yeah.
Then he's at a park bench, or he's at a bench. Underneath the bench, there's a towel or a rag or a shirt. Something's wrapped up in it. According to him, he grabs it. When he grabs that and picks it up, a gun that's wrapped up in there goes off. 12 feet later,
Whoa.
it hits concrete, it ricochets upward, and it hits Kate Steinle in the back. Pierces her aorta. She
Whoa.
dies within a few hours.
right.
32-year-old woman, absolutely tragic. Death that should have never happened. There are multiple steps that could have stopped this from happening.
Right. America's mourning over this. and
Absolutely.
A lot of people are outraged, and it's not. People have projected this as like a very like partisan divided thing. We're divided along partisan lines, and it really isn't. People are pissed off about this all over the place. The question is, did the jury make the right call considering the prosecution's request?
Right.
Right. And the prosecution was pushing for what was on the table was first-degree murder, second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and which were like the down ticket items basically,
Right.
and a felon in possession of a firearm. He was acquitted of all charges except for felon in possession of a firearm because the
Right.
prosecution and the defense both agreed on two things. Kate Steinle was struck in the back by the gun,
Right.
and Jose Zarate was the one who fired it. No one argued those things. The argument was,
Right.
was it an accident? Was it premeditated? And was it malice aforethought? They were actually going for that he went down to Pier 14 with the
To
express
kill her.
perfect to kill her.
And that's
Or to
but I
kill
think
someone.
but isn't that what has people most upset is that and people are redirecting this all over the place, but aren't people most upset about the fact that the prosecution sorry, fumble on my vodka, that the prosecution really messed this up, that they went for something far different than what facts and even what the defense attorney was ready to admit had happened.
See, what happened was
Right. But in reviewing this, like media figureheads all have their own take, but people seem to agree that second-degree murder would have been a much better priority target for the prosecution here.
yeah, at the very least, negligent homicide, involuntary manslaughter.
But they they really sidestepped that. They wanted
Absolutely.
to make this the most egregious case possible.
Absolutely. And so this happened 2 years ago. This happened in 2015. So in 2016, while he was awaiting trial, this became a big point for Trump for the wall.
Right.
And a lot of people have been calling for it. Oh, we need to get the wall up.
Well,
And
this
then the trial ending recently is what has reignited this conversation. And a lot of people, again, calling for Kate's law to say immigrants who come back into the country multiple times need to be put in prison for extended periods. We need to raise Kate's
Which is
wall.
expensive as hell. Okay, people need to realize
Absolutely.
that it's like $30,000 to $60,000 dollars, not people. Whoopsie.
Way more than that.
That it is incredibly expensive to hold people, and when people say stuff like that, it's so infuriating because it's like,
Who's going to pay for it?
Who's going to pay for this? And it's always the conservative Republicans that always say, oh, you got to put them in jail. First of all, no, that's really expensive. They're not even American citizens. Just throw them somewhere else. I'm okay with that. That's a much cheaper solution. I don't care. But there is so much wrapped up to it. And I think the thing that Trump capitalized on is the fact that this is a 5-time offender when it came to immigration law.
Yeah, he was deported 5 times.
Yeah. And and I felt like he was able to, one of the things that Trump was able to do is that he was able to switch this narrative around and make it a border wall issue and a immigration issue. But how did he even get here?
Well, I think it's easy because you can say, oh, if he hadn't come back into the country, she wouldn't be dead.
Physically, how did he
He came in, I believe the last time he came through was through Texas, and he was caught coming in.
So how did he escape that?
How did he get to San Francisco?
Yeah.
He was basically not extradited, but whatever the state-to-state version of extradition is. He was sent to San Francisco on an outstanding warrant that he had for
And then San Francisco let this slide because they
let him go because they're a sanctuary city.
God, I hate this city.
So again, these are multiple steps.
I really do. Listen, I am all for like reducing the law and protecting people's civil rights and human rights or whatever, but San Francisco is so far out of line constantly when it comes to this crap. It just No. You know what? I actually remember this. They refused to hold him.
Correct.
The city refused to hold him. This is insane. First of all, it's the prosecution's fault that they messed this up. It is. They should have gone for a more accurate description. First of all, everybody agrees that the bullet ricocheted off of the concrete and hit Kate in the back. I don't know how you go for intentional murder or any kind of version of that. It just
there's no way he could have done that on purpose.
No, and the fact that both sides agree on that, I think they should have just dropped that. They should have altered the case, or they should have gone for something different. This is so crazy. It's so sad, and it's so ridiculous. And to be honest, I don't know what the city of San Francisco itself is facing no backlash over this. I mean, is there any like civil lawsuit going against them?
Not from the family. As far as I know, they're not. I think actually there might, honestly, I don't have the research on that part. So
I know they're kind of done with this.
Correct. And I've got a quote here from Kate's father, that in their interview with the San Francisco Chronicle. And he says, "We just want to get this over with and move on with our lives and think about Kate on our terms." And my big issue with this right now is that everybody is using her death as a platform to forward their agenda. This is not a civil servant. This isn't Brady shot by Hinckley. This isn't somebody in the limelight who asked to be part of this, who was fighting a cause, who died for that cause. This isn't Malcolm X. This isn't MLK, somebody who died basically
a martyr.
For this isn't a martyr. She shouldn't be a martyr. She didn't ask for this. She was just there. It was an accident. And there were a lot of ways that this could have been prevented. Not that it was on its way and he meant to do it, but this could have not happened, for a lot of reasons. But you don't need to use this woman's death. I want to
know what happened to the officer. I want to know what kind of follow-up is happening with this officer. How did you lose your firearm, sir? And I think that there was attempts at this, right? They were like, "Oh, well, I don't know, it just got stolen out of the truck." Yeah. I
think that's where it ended.
How do you not fire people like this? First of all, if that's not negligence, I don't know what is. Okay. It is hard to get a firearm in San Francisco because all the gun sales shops have left the city. The last one left, I think, 2 years ago. And he had been there for like 40 years. But, God, how do you leave a gun unattended in your vehicle? I just don't understand it. And then you lose it. Did he report it right away?
Yes. Yeah, he did.
Well, that's fine.
He took the right steps afterwards. Clearly, he should have just taken the gun with him, wherever he was. That's
I
one
mean,
of
hindsight.
the, that's one of the points.
Hindsight is everything, but
Absolutely.
this whole scenario is just a series of preventative mistakes.
Correct. Final thoughts. I think everybody in the country, especially looking at this and being really upset by it, because you see this, what seems like an unjust death, understand that the man was acquitted, so we can assume that this was an accident. We weren't there. We didn't see what those jurors saw, and they acquitted this person. It was a trial of his peers that acquitted him of those charges. So it was, as far as we're all concerned, an accident. You can mourn her in your own way, but if you have a cause that you have to prop up the senseless death of a woman to further, you need to pick a new cause.
Yeah, I mean, her family's made it clear they don't want her to be the face of immigration reform.
Right.
No.
You know, and to not politicize this, and it is sad and it is unfortunate. I mean, I know that the feds are trying real hard to get a hold of this guy right now.
Right.
They've issued their own warrants.
He's still in custody, and he's still being charged for being a felon in possession of a firearm. That's up to 3 years, and if he gets sentenced for up to 3 years, he's served 2 years already waiting for trial, and then he will be given to the U.S. Marshals, who will be charging him after that.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll see.
We're gonna move on here.
Oh yeah, because this is a doozy.
Yeah, this is a doozy, and we are already way at time, but that's fine.
We'll get there.
We're talking about today. This is chunky.
You know what? I'm gonna try and be really quick about this because I don't even know how important some of this stuff is because the House has. We're talking about the
GOP tax reform
from the Senate. And to be honest, the Senate bill is about to be shredded in the House because the House had its own version and they were not at all happy about what happened in the Senate. They weren't thrilled. And a lot of things are really questionable about this. I mean, there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff, and there's some really weird stuff that the Senate did, and I think they did it unintentionally. We know that at this point that Distractify, you know I love clickbait and I can't resist it. It is not even a weakness; it's a strength at this point. You have to accept it. Distractify came out and they noted that a few economists in the Chicago area discovered that despite the fact that Republicans kept the promise in their tax bill to drop corporate tax rates down to 20%, they kept in the alternative minimum tax. They re-added it. They originally deleted it, and then they re-added it, which means that most corporations will have to file using the alternative minimum tax, which will increase their tax burden with the closing of loopholes. And there are a lot of loopholes. That's a good thing. There are a lot of loopholes closed in this bill. But with those loopholes closed, the two people jump back and forth between about $300 million in taxes increased on corporations. It's not billion. Sorry, I'm a liar. And that kind of the House immediately shredded that. The House has taken this on, and they're not thrilled about some of the things that the Senate passed. That being one of them, because that's an oopsie poopsie. Another thing that really significantly, I mean, there are mild changes. The Senate is known for its conservatism, not a party affiliation, but its unwillingness to do a whole lot of drastic moves. They're very cautious when it comes to being too flamboyant. So they kept things like the seven brackets for filings. They reduced some of the rates. The corporate provisions, like I said, they dropped down to the 20% of taxable earnings, but they also re-added in the alternative minimum tax, which kind of back-ended them when they closed the loopholes at the very end. There's some small business reforms. Some of the things that are included are kind of sensible things for deductions, like repairs, roofing,
right.
AC units, stuff like that. Trust me, reading this bill was really tedious because if you've ever read a piece of legislation, a lot of it is changing small individual words. There are lines and lines and lines of change and in paragraph 2 of section 4B3 to but it's
Yeah.
like that's what makes these bills so big, is that these are not new pieces of legislation. These are additions and alterations to existing legislation. They are not writing a new tax law. They are adjusting the tax law from 1986, which means that when you go back and you read this, it is just, you have to have all the tabs open, because you have to have the original 1986 tax law. Then you have to have all the adjustments made since then. You have to have this one open. Then you have to jump back and forth, and you have to find the sections that they're referring to. It's a real mess, and it takes forever to get through a lot of these things, which is why they're so hard to do. And also, it really is frustrating that this was a 79-page tax bill, and a lot of this could have been achieved in incremental votes. We could have voted on small issues.
Sure.
I know that people want things done, bigly, and that they want, massive tax reform, and they think they're getting massive tax reform. And all it is small adjustments here and there and across the board. And there's some things that kind of pop up that Republicans can quote and be like, oh, I did this and I dropped corporate taxes to 20%. That was my vote. Here we are. We're celebrating. But then they get hit on stuff like the alternative minimum tax, which hits the majority of corporations will have to file for. That's what they're going to be filing under. And it's apparently a tax increase across the board. And all of this stuff is it could have been done in small parcels, and you would have gotten bipartisan support. And it's stuff like the elimination of living expenses for members of Congress is in this tax bill. Is that going to survive the House? Who knows? But, it's like, why couldn't you just write a bill about that, referencing the tax code, and we're eliminating this? And then you've got the repeal of deductions for lobbying expenses on the local level, which is in state or at municipal governments.
Right.
Okay, why couldn't we just pass a single law? A lot of these things could have been single-page laws. And it's so frustrating, and everybody, we talked about this in episode 1. This becomes a bigger bill. And this bill
Absolutely.
is so convoluted and it's so obnoxious. Like the tax on alcohol. Beer is dropped down to 50% from $7 a barrel to $3.50 a barrel on some domestic brews. Other domestic brews are going to be reduced to $16 to $18 a barrel, depending on when they were produced or when they were made. Wine, it's like the same. Like going through this piece by piece was the most tedious and infuriating thing since trying to pull apart the Affordable Care Act. It's just these things are so ridiculous. People are really excited about the fact that all this, what is it? People accuse foreign companies that operate overseas of holding trillions of dollars, $3 to $4 trillion in assets overseas. And they want that brought home, but the taxes are so high that they won't do it, which is, kind of fair, except that these businesses mostly operate those assets overseas where they're at. It's like a Japanese car company having a manufacturing plant here. Why would they bring those cars home when they're made to be built in the United States to be sold to Americans? So the tax code kind of switches that over to a territorial tax system, which most countries do because it's reasonable and sensible. And it charges 10% on hard assets if you want to bring them back to the United States, and 5% on non-cash assets, which are assets that you use your profits on for buying things to build your business. If you're buying equipment with your profits, then it's 5%. I don't know, and this just goes up and down. It's crazy. Like, this is how much it touched. It touched literally everything. There's the Alaska National Interest of Lands Conservation. This tax won't apply to mining and drilling in the northernmost coastal plains. Nobody knows what they're talking about. Nobody knows what any of this means. This applies to literally who cares about it? And people are like, they're drilling in Alaska. Yeah, where it's really, really cold. and there's some oil. Nobody lives there. There's 5 people. Who cares about this stuff? And the Senate they did this, and they just lumped it all together last minute. And that's the Democrats have it right. Like, this is a crazy town. When it comes to like a piece of legislation, it makes almost no sense. You can't read it through.
Do you think it's so big they lumped it all together like this so that the Trump administration had a win? They could say, we passed a big tax bill.
Oh, yeah, and they're getting hammered on it. They're getting hammered, and rightfully so. All left-wing news organizations have every right to take this apart and to beat the crap out of it. This thing is ridiculous. And it's like, everyone was so excited, right, on the right of the political spectrum for the elimination of the Obamacare penalty, right?
Right.
That you will no longer be penalized. Okay, but they didn't eliminate the mandate. The mandate's not gone. The mandate is just a penalty of $0, which goes back to what Republicans were trying to do, which was allow insurance companies to
charge you the penalty.
Yeah, insurance companies would penalize you for lapse in coverage instead of the government. So now the government's just keeping records with 0 cost to you, and that cost is going to be put on you by insurance companies. It maintains the entire structure of Obamacare without the federal government making money off of it.
But it's repeal and replace, so it's better, right?
No, it's not better. This is bullshit. You know what? This is bullshit. A lot of this...
Tell me how you really feel.
I will. A lot of this is the Senate Republican caucus
you don't have to ask them how to do that.
Really just messing up. They messed up. This is a crap bill. This does everything that they said it would do and then completely goes back up their ass at every turn. There is nothing about this bill that is even reasonable.
Do you think this is it's a case of go bigly or go home?
No, I think this is a case of Senate Republicans not knowing how to write a bill. And this is, but they've been accused of this by Republicans in the House constantly, that they have no balls. They have no gusto and they have no willingness to go out of their way to do something that's truly a reform. They will not reform anything. A lot of this is just adjustments to existing code. And it's weird adjustments too. It's backhanded. Like that AMT, the alternative minimum tax, they didn't even realize that they put that in and that it would come and cost them. And Distractify's the one pulling them out on it. It's so ridiculous. How is Distractify going on Twitter and calling you out when you didn't even know that you raised taxes? Thank God nobody signed this bill into law. And the House Republicans are ripping this apart, and they're not happy. They're not happy because they want a repeal of Obamacare. The Senate Republicans want the replacement. And this would have been a fine way to do it. And I feel bad about this because I really do love Rand Paul, but taking a penalty from hundreds or thousands of dollars and reducing it to 0 is not a reduction it's not a repeal of the penalty.
No.
It doesn't cost you anything, but the government is still in your business.
It's still technically penalizing you for it.
And they're reporting it to insurance companies, which would have gone along with the repeal and replace plan that Republicans had somewhere in some hair out of the side of their asses earlier in this congressional session. They want people penalized. They just don't want to be the ones doing it.
They want to be able to write fix-it tickets for this, basically. Say, oh, we can't arrest you, we can't fine you for this, but you're doing something wrong.
This bill is absolute crap, and it's gonna fail. They made it sound so great, which of course they did. They're great salesmen and women, but they made it sound so great.
Salespeople, sales folks,
whatever.
What? Sales folks.
It doesn't matter what gender or pronoun they go by. These people suck at their jobs, and House Republicans are ripping this apart. But the problem is that when House Republicans put forward the bill that the voting bloc of the Republican caucus, the actual voters who voted these douchebags in, when the House puts their bill forward, it's going to be very different than the Senate bill. It already is. There's a reduction in tax brackets. The Senate kept the 7 that exist right now. They just reduced the levels of burden, and the House changes that to 4 with reductions in burden. I mean, the House bill looks very different, and it's far more aggressive, and it's far more conservative, and it's far more like it's not so backhanded. But the Senate just really failed. They absolutely failed on this.
So what happens next?
What happens next is that the House and the Senate will come together and they'll do. It's like a reconciliation meeting between leadership from both parties, and they'll try to make this work. It's really in the Republicans' hand because they do own 2/3 of the government. Technically all of the government, but nothing goes to SCOTUS until somebody sues. So, and they're very quiet. They don't like to exercise their power. It makes them nervous. Which is fine, but they'll go and they'll try to mediate this. But really, the House I think everybody knows the House Republicans are going to fail this bill. They're going to decline to pass this bill. It's not going to have the votes in the House to pass, and the House is going to push forward the bill that they've been working on, which I have not read yet because it is forthcoming, and they haven't voted on it yet. It's still in the amendment process. They're building it.
So long bill short, don't bother reading it because it's not going to go through.
I don't even know why I read this 500 pages worth of bullshit because it's crap. I literally, like, everything was fine, and I was just like, all right, well, it's tedious. I don't know if anybody here has read legislation before.
No.
A little bit.
It's exhausting
Mm-hmm.
because you have to. None of this is new. Nothing in this bill is new. It's all a reference to something else. So you have to go back to that thing, and then you have to find it. Then you have to see what they changed, and it's always one word. Like, the vast majority of this bill isn't actual legislation. It's changing words around. It's adding commas or deleting a paragraph and adding a new paragraph. And that's what makes these bills so large. And the real question is, why does Congress do this? Some of these bits could be passed item by item. I don't understand why we constantly have to have these large, all-encompassing bills. Senate Republicans unanimously will back a repeal of the individual mandate. Point face, not a repeal of the cost of the individual mandate.
Right.
The mandate in general.
The mandate itself. Why don't you just put that in? Why don't you just put that to a vote? One line. Screw the Democrats. No one cares. They're not going to get them. But Democrats are going to jump on board for some of this stuff.
Right.
Like, why? We sit here and we fight. We're told that Roy Moore is invaluable to the Senate because Trump needs his vote. And then the Senate does stuff like this. And it's like, I would rather have the Democrat. I would rather have Republicans sweating through their asses right now than passing crap like this. It's terrible legislation. It's up and down. It's all over the place. These people have no idea there's no vision in this bill. This bill is back and forth. It goes nowhere. These are not conservative Republicans. These are Republicans that are just buying votes with every single line item agenda.
They're just looking to keep their jobs.
And people are freaking out about the Alaska drilling thing. First of all, Alaska is parceled up into corporate entities. And it just, these people want the drilling. I'm sorry, the rest of the country. People in Alaska want the drilling. It's not up to you. It's their territory. You need to back off. And the thing is that if the Senate wanted to vote to allow Alaska to drill in 10% of its offshore land, let them do it. Who cares?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you care? No one here has been to the Kodiak Bear Reserve. Like, no one cares about this stuff. Just let them do it. You could have gotten some Democrats on vote for that. Just one parcel of land for Alaska. I don't understand why these bills have to be so big, because this is why they fail. I mean, who's not in favor of reducing the cost of alcohol? You've got a buttload of Democrat senators in the Midwest and in brewing states who would love to have an ease of burden on their distilleries.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, that's 2 terms extra on the back end right there.
And in California, we had wildfires that destroyed our wine crop. There are tax reductions that could have gotten Democratic votes for the ease of burden for wine crops coming out in 2018 and 2019 for barrels produced in those 2 years.
And those are going to be the biggest years that are affected because 17.
Those are going to be
because the harvest had just finished in 17.
Yep, and it's going to hurt them. But they could have gotten 2 Democrat votes on that
easily for free. For
free if they had just done this line by line. And it's a reduction on imports, which means the whole country, every wine lover in the United States would have gotten an ease of burden if that had been a line item vote. If it had just been that importing of wine barrels would have been reduced in excise tax, and that the tax on wine barrels produced in the United States between those 2 years would have been reduced, you could have had a damn near unanimous vote on that. Why would you sacrifice that? Why would you if that's important to you, if that's important to some senators
it's important enough to put in this almost 500-page bill.
Well, it's there obviously to buy votes. All of these agenda items are there to buy votes from the Republican caucus in the Senate. But if that's so important, why couldn't you have just done it line by line? I hate this stuff. This is why people will get pissed off at Congress, because they pass these bills and they're horseshit. Top to bottom. God knows that the House will rip this apart and it won't look anything like it does, which is fine because it looks like crap. But the House bill, I can't imagine is any better from what they've produced. And we still don't have a hard copy, I don't think. The Senate released this late Friday night and they voted on it Saturday morning at 2 a.m. I promise you that I devoted, for 479 pages, I devoted about 30 hours to reading this. Mm-hmm. It's not easy reading. It's not fun reading.
No, not at all.
I know you did, girl.
So irritating.
That's probably why your back hurts so much.
Yeah.
That is probably why my back hurts so much. This is a stupid bill. And there's stuff in here that people wanted, and they give it, and then they taketh away. Mm-hmm. At every corner, it's like, here's a give you, and here a takes you. Every time. And it's like, who wouldn't... Okay, slashing the orphan drug credit from 50% to 27.5% is an amazing opportunity that's going to be destroyed. I guarantee you it's going to be destroyed in the House. And it's the worst thing. So this is for drug production and pharmaceutical production. And a lot of these are for drugs that go to people of a very small block. And development of drugs that would only affect a very small portion of people. But by cutting that tax burden in half, almost, pharmaceuticals and drug companies would face a huge opportunity for development. Because their drugs wouldn't cost so much on the back end. They wouldn't cost consumers so much. And that's what prevents a lot of study into medications for drugs that won't affect that many people. You know, it's like we want to talk about incentives for development and for creation. Well, that's a pretty good tax incentive by cutting it in half. It's very expensive to produce medication. It's very expensive to test and create pharmaceutical drugs. As much as people want to rag on the pharmaceutical industry, it costs billions of dollars to bring a drug to market. And a lot of that is federal bureaucracy that gets in the way. And any reduction in that maintains safety and the confidence of the American public that pharmaceuticals are being properly observed by the FDA, if that matters to people, you know, that they're not being driven out of business by the cost of the taxes and the regulations that are against them to bring a drug to market. This is just money. And it's money that's being passed off to the consumer. And the consumer, in most of these cases, especially in the drug case, are people who are suffering. And it's like something like that could have gotten votes across the aisle. You could have gotten votes across the entire aisle. But instead you put it in this big bill. It's not going to happen. It's the biggest disappointment. And Republicans should be incredibly disgusted with the Senate. Republican voters, that is. This is the worst.
Yeah, this was really exciting when it first started.
Yeah, I'm sorry to bring it down,
quite the letdown.
Yeah, it has, you know.
I hate to do it, but it had to happen.
It has.
had
I mean,
happened.
yeah. I mean, but so kind of fun. Like this goes back to what you were saying earlier during the production meeting, right, Johnny? It's you know, Republicans clearly aren't capable of running a government of this size.
They're not. They're really messing this up. I was gonna say a different word, but I'm not gonna do.
I mean, you know, like it's funny, and a lot of people on the left are really angry right now when they. I mean, to be kind of honest about this entire thing, they kind of should be laughing because, you know, everyone's biggest fear at the start of this administration was like runaway power. Because
there's no
the Republicans, own every branch.
They can't manage it.
Yeah, they own every branch of government right now. They own every branch of the federal government, and they cannot manage it. They can't.
Well, they own most of the branches of the state governments too. The Republican Party has a stranglehold on power in this country, and they can't exercise any of it with any sort of wisdom or responsibility or clarity at all. How are you going to sacrifice votes from the other party on some of these line item issues?
Right.
Adjustments across life insurance, deductions for larger financial institutions on FDIC premiums, state employer leave deductions. What? How is this?
How are these things that can't get put through right now?
There's an adjustment in this bill that allows teachers to double their deduction from $250 to $500 when they buy supplies. You don't think Democrats would vote for that? You don't think you could get Democrat colleagues across the aisle absolutely in favor of giving teachers a break?
Yeah, giving teachers a write-off.
Yeah. An incentive to invest more in their classrooms, which, you know, we're not going to get into tonight, but maybe if they didn't have so many God-blessed administrators sitting there wagging their fingers at teachers, maybe teachers could actually do the job that they signed up to do.
Right. Because
teachers are great and the admin staff is horseshit, and we'll get into that another day. But a doubling of the deduction is in this bill, and it's going to be lost.
Yeah.
It is. I promise you, every good thing about this bill is going to be
it's getting
just
shredded.
trashed.
Yeah, it's getting shredded.
In fact, I hope the House doesn't even involve itself in reconciliation. I hope they take this bill and they vote it down and it goes to the ash heap.
The ass heap.
The ass heap of history, and that no one ever remembers it. I'm so mad I even had to read this because once I was done, I was just like, this is a bunch of horse shit. And this is not going to fly anywhere. No one's voting for this in the House. People are going to be so mad about this.
All right.
You know what? I'm so worked up. I can't even enjoy the podcast.
Drink your vodka martini.
Why do they do this? They always fail. They always fail. I don't understand it, and it just pisses me off. You have all the opportunities, and here you guys are screaming in the streets to get a child molester elected to the Senate so that you can have votes for this shit.
Yep.
This is what you want to pass?
Yep.
Get the hell out of here. Get the hell out. I'm so mad. I'm glad I get to be angry now.
Well, we're going to let Johnny be angry. And we're going to cut it today. Thank you, everyone. I want to thank everyone today for listening to Boozed and Bothered. This is definitely one of our longer episodes.
I said it. I'm not even mad. Turtle Man needs to go.
I'm not
away.
editing that. I'm not editing that. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for listening to Boozed and Bothered this week. Please check us.
Guys.
Please check us. Don't be sorry. Please check us out at Patreon. boozedandbothered.com. Check us out on Facebook.com/boozedandbothered. On Twitter at boozedandbothered. And then also. Last week, this is a bit of an edit from last week. We don't have a Patreon yet. We're working on it, and it will be launched very soon.
Yes, that was my fault. I was excited.
Yes, he was very excited, which is totally fine. But we're going to have different tiers of rewards and things like that. So just be on the lookout for that. I'm sure you'll know.
Ooh, there'll be goodie bags.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting. It'll be a lot
not actual goodie bags,
not physical ones, but spiritual ones.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be patreon.com/boozedandbothered. Patreon.com/boozedandbothered. The page is not quite ready yet, so if you go there, you're not going to find much, but that will be coming soon.
I want another martini.
And Jonathan wants another
You
martini.
need to go to bed, Johnny.
Yeah, you do. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Booze.
Flexerol.
Thank you for everyone to everyone for listening to Booze and Bothered this week.
Thanks a lot, guys.
My name is Sean.
My name is Jonathan.
My name's Robert.
And
Robert, good luck with your baby.
Thank
It's
you.
coming. You're gonna be a great father.
all right.
So.
Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye.